Alright, we're back with the Foxbody tubular front install. We're prepping the frame rails here to go on. We're going to show you how we get this area flat where the frame rail will set in there and get it easy to mock up. You want to get that area flat because if you look down like this, it is at an angle. This frame bar, you see it's kind of like that. You want to get it flat where it's square with this frame rail here. So that's why you hammer it in, massage it in. That'll let your bar go all the way against it. You won't have as big a gap to weld at the top. See, it's getting there.
Okay, we've got the frame tubes mocked up and positioned. I want to talk a little bit about the alignment. What we're trying to do with the hammering and the cutting and the shaping back here is get the frame tubes close against this and aligned with the cut. It's not going to be perfect, but we're getting it close enough to fit and set the width of the tubes. So Stephen's going to back up a little bit and we're going to show you how we've got everything set. We previously did the center line of the car with the chalk box, and then we set the width of the frame tubes based on the final placement of the radiator hoop, and that all ties back to the location of these bars. So we've got a rough center line mark. This center line we used to set the spread with the radiator hoop like this. The radiator hoop's going to go underneath. We're just using it above for mock-up to show the width. This leaves you with the frame bars spreading out. You can tweak that if you like. This is how the kit was originally designed. So we've got the frame tubes level with the car. We've put a 4-foot level across them to keep an eye on them with the jack stands. And then with the plumb bobs, we put the plumb bob on the tube to the inside, roughly 1 inch back from the end on both sides to set the width relative to the center line of the car. We do that because you don't want the two frame tubes to be pointing to the driver's side or to the passenger side. So we've measured the width and marked on the floor on each side what that total width is, and with it centered on the car center line. So that measurement was 35 and a half.
A quarter, I think.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Quarter. Divide that in half, and that was 17 5/8. So we want to be 17 5/8 off of the center line on each side. So that's what the point of the plumb bobs is. If you don't have plumb bobs, you can use something else, a square. They're pretty cheap though, and they're handy to have. So now we have the frame tubes laid out. They're on the car. We're going to tack them lightly into place and then proceed with putting the rest of the tubes on the kit.
What Joey's doing, he's tacking the top of the tube. We suggest tacking the top because that'll let the bottom rest against the bottom of the tower. Kind of a better hold point for a couple tacks. We're just using the MIG to tack this. We'll TIG weld everything in, but just for fit up and stuff, we usually just MIG tack it. Alright, we've got these areas prepped and fit now. Keep in mind you'll probably have to sand these areas. Take your bar right there, put it up to it, you know, keep test fitting it, how it lines up, and you know, just keep sneaking up on it with the sanding until it fits good enough for you to weld. So I mean, it might take some time. Just don't get greedy and cut too much, because then you'll be back behind where the tower face is, and then you'll have a mess. So right now we're going to set the angle of this and tack it in place. Got a little angle finder here. Get these on Amazon. The little digital ones are really easy to use. Just we typically use a bubble gauge or style level to set this to 0. So we've got it set. Get this lined up straight up and down with the tube, because if you do it side to side, it'll change the angle. But roughly, you see it there, roughly around 60 degrees, 60 and a half, 60.3. I mean, you get it within a couple tenths of a degree, you're good to go. I'm gonna hold it while Joey tacks it. Just throw a few tacks in there, enough to hold it. And then we'll move to the other frame bar. Put our angle finder on there. Go a little bit wider. Down, up. Sorry, I'm telling you the wrong way. You just want to match the other side is the main thing. All right, hit it. All right.
Did that do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we got both tower bars mocked up. And of course, always sand your areas of contact prior to mocking your bars up. Make your life easier. All right, now we're going to install the radiator hoop. Pay attention to the direction of these notches, because they're a couple degrees and they're turned. They're designed to follow these frame rails out. So if you have this bar flipped around, the notches are going to seem like they don't line up. So if they seem like that, then flip the bar around and the notches will be aimed the right direction. A helpful way to do it, since a lot of you guys are doing this by yourself, is to use a floor jack. Now you don't want to jack up against it too hard, but it'll help you kind of hold it in place. Get you a magnet or some type of square. That'll ensure you're 90 degrees straight up and down. Get it centered with the tower bar. You can put it at a different space, but it really isn't going to line up any other place unless you move your frame rails in and out to accommodate for the width. So once you get it in place, then you can move on to tacking it. All right, we're just gonna throw a couple tacks. So everything's tacked up. Now we're gonna start taking all our measuring stuff off of it. We put our jack stands on these little dollies. That really helps when you're mocking it up. You're able to wiggle the bar without having to move the jack stand on the floor. You can just kind of scooch it with your foot. Makes it a lot less aggravating. So now we're gonna roll the TIG machine back here, and we're gonna go to town welding this thing together. We want to get everything TIG welded up before we go any further with our top bar or anything. Get everything secured where we can put the front back on and finish fitting everything. Alright, what we're going to do now is just take a wire brush on a drill and just go over all the cracks and stuff where we're going to weld, just to ensure there's no trash or anything lingering around there that's going to cause us any kind of headache. We're going to do that. We'll put it on time lapse and we're going to weld this thing together. Okay, now that we got all the welding done, we're going to move on to actually putting the fenders and the front bumper on and getting tabs welded on. Show you a little bit how we welded it on there. We TIG welded everything, and every car welds a little bit different. Just, you've got 2 layers of metal right here. Might have some rust underneath this first one. It'll kind of make you mad sometimes, but overall it does a pretty good job and looks a little bit better than MIG welding. A lot less grinding involved, or actually no grinding involved. We've got our joints there welded. We've got our front sitting here. The bumper and headlight assemblies, all that, we left all that attached as one piece, like you seen in the original teardown part of the video. And we're going to put it all back on as one piece. When we put it back on, we will use the rearmost bolt hole, which goes right here. Quit shaking the camera. And we will attach it down here to this lower one. I'll explain a little bit after we get it put on, but you can set your gap right here and your gap at the door, and this area here will support the weight, and that will set your height at the front. You may want to throw a jack or something underneath the front to kind of support it, but for the most part it's going to hold itself exactly where it goes, and that'll allow you to place the top radiator support bar. All right, now that we got our bumper on and in place, we got our door gaps and everything set pretty much. Everything's tightened down. These are your fender tabs that come with your kit, and you'll need to trim these a little bit. You can see the brake line right there. Most of the time we just cut it right there with the saw, and that will allow you to put it right under there, and that'll line right up with the hole. So we're going to go cut those right now, trim them up, and get them ready to weld on. Now that we've got our tabs trimmed, you can see how it bolts up. You trim the leg off of it like that, and then when you put it in here, it lines up like that. You can just weld that directly to it. That'll give you enough room for your nut and stuff on the bottom for you to still get that on. So we're going to weld those on, and then we'll move on to our top support bar. Another tip when you're welding any type of tubing, you want to make sure you have a vent hole in it. Because if you're TIG welding, it'll pressurize the tubing and blow out the weld. So we got those secured. Now we're going to put the upper radiator support bar in, which is laying over there on the cart. Always clean and prep your welding areas. On these kits, we just give you what we call a courtesy cut or a notch. You'll always have to sand and fit this. Depending on how you install these tower bars, it will fit different every time, you know, for each individual install. So just sand these what you can so it fits nicely like that. You'll also notice we're using the bumper. Just lay the bar on top of where the back of the headlight framing is right there. The way the hoods are designed on these cars, they shut right over top of that, but that's a good guide where it'll rest on, and you can weld it right up in place. So we'll get this tacked on, and then we'll put the tabs here directly to these. Okay, now we have our tabs welded on. Upper support bar. Weld as much as you can around it. Then you can take the front off and finish. But just get enough weld where it doesn't move. Weld probably several inches there around it. Use the factory nutsert clips that come on the bumper. Just leave those in there. You run your factory bolts right back down through them. So now we pull the bumper off and finish welding around our top bar. Alright, we got everything fully welded up. All the tabs are on. So this is your full front end kit with the outer bar style. There's one more bar that is optional. It's called the support bar in the options. This is just a straight bar. A lot of guys will put up in the front. It's designed to go right in between your frame rails there. I can do it one-handed. Fits really snug right there. A lot of guys will use that to hang an intercooler, transmission cooler, something like that up into the bumper area. So it's a $25 option for that bar. It's notched on both sides. Depending on how you install your frame bars and everything, you know, if you're a little bit out on your measurement, or you know, a little bit off of what we would call, I guess, a perfect install, this could be a little bit tight or a little bit long. Just take a flapper wheel or something and just sand the notch out a little bit and it'll go right in there. It don't have to be any certain width. This is just the width that we notched them based on the kit design. So like I said, this ain't really hard to install. Just take your time welding, measuring, definitely. Get everything as straight as you can per the install instructions. Now you can watch this video as many times as it takes to get an idea of what all to do. Hopefully we've explained enough to help you on your install. So if you got any questions, feel free to comment on the video or email us at sales@rock-solid-motorsports.com and we'll answer your questions, walk you through it, or give us a call, 980-635-1930, and we'll help you the best we can. We appreciate your business, and we will add a sway bar kit install video. Look for it in another link. But we have these brackets here that go right on the bottom of the frame rail for guys that are wanting to keep the sway bar. So we're going to be installing these on this car. There'll be another video link on our channel just for that. So check that out if you're interested in doing that. Thanks, guys.